Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ariane. My biggest fan right there. Please continue enjoying your salad and your wine. I'm just going to say a few words while I'm up here. First of all, hello and welcome. Thank you all for coming. We're so happy you're here. And thank you so much to the people who've helped make tonight possible. Thank you to the ever-diligent LAFCA Executive Board, Tim Grierson, my co-pilot. Thank you for guiding us. Yes, applause. Thank you for guiding us and always radiating calm, especially in the midst of the storm and through all the razzle-dazzle. Justin, your keen eye and unflagging enthusiasm, not to mention your unparalleled puns, keep us on course. Most people know about his puns in this room, right? Amy, wherever you are, you're somewhere over there. The only person I know who would ever willingly sign up for our most onerous accounting duties. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If there's anything that being in the trenches with this team has taught me, it's that they're just as graceful at handling details like gift bags and commemorative booklets as they are at putting into words the way that great films make us feel. Thank you to Stephen Farber for overseeing the production of our video reel. And thank you, Dave Emmendorfer, for your creative compilation, which we'll be watching in a few minutes. Thank you to my programming and producing colleague, Kira Wojak, for your unending good humor, wit, and wisdom. Thank you to my daughter, Allison, for her ever-savvy editing. And to my husband, Jerry, for his unflagging patience and kindness. Thank you to our new exclusive wine partners, Robert Hall Winery, who supplied tonight's libations. Always important. And most of all, thank you to our award winners and the other artists who have come from far and wide to be with us tonight. Yalitza. Yalitza Aparicio, who gave such a beautiful performance in Roma. Muchísimas gracias por todo lo que nos has dado. Gracias por todo. And Thompson Harcourt Mackenzie, you were amazing in Leave No Trace. You brought a sensitivity to the role that even actors twice your age struggle to master. Dale Dickey, here. The consummate character actor, and as usual, you were wonderful and leave no trace. And more than inhabiting your roles, you define them. Pete Doctor, I know he's in the house. You've made some of our favorite movies of all time, and we're still not over Up. Gregory Nava, the director of El Norte, and Selena. You've dealt with the struggles of immigration and identity that still resonates today, perhaps more than ever. Paul Schrader, you were once one of us, a critic. We'll forgive you for moving on to bigger and better things. We didn't think it was possible, but with First Reformed, you've outdone yourself. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the dynamic duo. The talented producers behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, our Best Animation winner. When you collaborate, amazing things happen. And thank you to all of the LAFCA members here tonight. It's always a joy to celebrate exceptional films with you. Yay. And what a remarkable year for film it has been. To quote the venerable T'Challa, better known as Black Panther, now more than ever, the illusions of division threaten our very existence. We all know the truth. More connects us than separates us. But in times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe. He was, of course, referring to Wakanda, but sometimes life should imitate art. As our government has come to a standstill, shut down over whether a border wall should be built, T'Challa's entreaty reminds us of the importance of our common humanity. This year, more than usual, has brought our values into stark relief as we're forced to question the direction our world is taking. It can feel like everything is breaking down, especially as our administration callously separates families at the border and challenges the basic tenets of American society and human decency. For people who haven't been allowed to share the microphone, who haven't been allowed a place at the table, this isn't news. But it still hurts to see that even the myth of equality is now being tossed by the wayside. That said, the success of the films we honor tonight serves as a kind of balm to these wounds. Film, more than any other art form, is a collaborative, connecting experience, not only in the making of it, but in the way we experience it. Film transcends borders. For those of us who love film, movies are our passport. The films that we honor tonight build the metaphorical bridges that connect us across cultures. This year's crop of winners is the most diverse in LAFCA's history. I'm so proud to stand up here and proclaim this. "14 of our 18 winners are women or people of color. And the best thing is this happened with no advanced discussion. It was the natural result of having such a rich diversity of films to choose from this year. Last year I stood up here and talked about making room for new voices and different perspectives. I'm sure that tonight's honorees have not always had an easy time in an industry that can be unwelcoming and exclusionary. But with their hard work, their vision, and their talent, they've given hope to everyone who hasn't seen themselves on screen or felt represented. So many of us go through life with our stories hidden. Some of us rarely, if ever, see ourselves on screen. Perhaps we don't look like the dominant culture, or we speak another language, or we love differently from the norm. We might feel we don't belong until someone dares to tell a story differently, to tell a story that resonates in a way that others have not. As critics, we yearn for compelling stories. We don't just review and analyze, we champion. We are like film ombudsmen, zealous evangelists for fresh, innovative storytelling, and we certainly found lots of it this year. Thank you to everyone in this room who had something to do with that, to everyone who helped make this possible. By encouraging new voices, you've enriched our culture and brought hope to us in a trying time. And to the winners especially, thank you for sharing yourself with us. All of our winners took us to mesmerizing places, whether real or imagined, and I specifically want to highlight a few of our award winners whose touch was felt through every frame of the worlds they created. Thank you, Alfonso Cuarón, our winner for Best Picture and Best Cinematography. Thank you for introducing us to such a vividly rendered world in Roma. You enlightened us about a very specific time and place by delving into your memories and creating something so beautiful. As someone who lived in Mexico City, just minutes away from Colonia Roma in the mid-1970s, I was instantly transported back to moments with my own family in Mexico. And having raved about this film to anyone who would listen, I've learned that even people who've never set foot in Mexico were profoundly affected by the remarkable story of a family both unique and universal. Thank you, Deborah Granick, the year's Best Director for Leave No Trace. You gave us a window into lives that might otherwise go unseen. Your sensitivity, empathy, and care for the plight of your characters infuses every frame of this extraordinary film. Thank you, Nicholas Britell, the winner of our award for Best Score. For If Beale Street Could Talk, your evocative compositions captured the essence of love and distilled it in musical form. It definitely captured our hearts. Thank you, Hannah Beekler, for your spectacular production design in Black Panther. You created a world as visually stunning as Britell's score is musically entrancing. You made us want to live in Wakanda. Wakanda forever. And when it comes to creating immersive and enchanting cinematic worlds, the impact of the work of our Career Achievement winner, Hayao Miyazaki, cannot be overstated. Beyond the fantastical films themselves, his work is directly responsible for many of our most beloved animators' decisions to pursue their art. And speaking of artful animation, thank you to the team behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And to directors Bob Persichetti, Rodney Rothman, and Peter Ramsey. You introduced the world to Miles Morales, our new favorite superhero. To quote the film, that person who helps others simply because it should or must be done and because it is the right thing to do is indeed, without a doubt, a real superhero. For us critics, filmmakers are our superheroes. Film heals us. Film is not restricted by borders or walls, nor should our humanity be. The artists here tonight have used their platform to tell stories that need to be told, to show us what it means to make that commitment to our humanity. Just as our award winners have used their platforms to bring us these vital narratives, we as critics have the means to amplify their message. It can feel like a responsibility, but what it is an honor. To all of our winners, thank you for sharing your truth. Please enjoy your food, and we'll be showing you a film in just a little bit.
Hello, I'm Annalee Ellingson, and I'm thrilled to present this first award of the evening, the LAFCA Ruth Bachelor Scholarship. Like the rest of Hollywood, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association has been taking a hard look at the gender ratio in our ranks over the past couple of years, and we are committed to exploring how to improve that balance. One of the ways we aim to increase the number of women in our field is to encourage and support aspiring female film critics. To that end, last year we established a scholarship named for our founder, Ruth Bachelor. This has been a learning process in concert with local film and journalism professors who support this initiative, and we couldn't be more thrilled with the applications we've received. I'm especially delighted to introduce you to our 2018 recipient, Brianna Barton-Shaw. Brianna is a student at Los Angeles City College. There, she was invited to participate in Mayor Eric Garcetti's inaugural year of the Evolve Entertainment Fund, and was also accepted as an AMPAS Academy Gold intern this past summer. She's working as a literary packaging intern at William Morris Endeavor and has her mind set on a future that encompasses revisionist film history, criticism, and international development. To quote her cover letter, "For Brianna, working in this business is a privilege I love, and to contribute something worthwhile is what I owe, having been a former homeless youth who survived in 2-hour VHS increments." I couldn't be more proud to present her with the 2018 LAFCA Ruth Bachelor Scholarship.
Thank you, everyone, for bringing this to light, to recognizing the gender disparity, and to recognizing somebody who was just a poor kid from Humboldt County, Northern California. An unerring sadness and a need to escape is what first brought me to film, and it has developed into a passion that I couldn't believe would bring me to a room that has Lord Miller, to Alicia, to Alfonso Cuarón, to Pete Docter, whose films saved my life as a kid. And I can't possibly dedicate my life more to the process and the love of filmmaking to bring something that's worthwhile. Thank you so much to Ruth Bachelor.
I'm back. That's because I'm stoked to present the Douglas E. Edwards Experimental Film Award to Evan Johnson, Galen Johnson, and Guy Madden for their phantasmagoric The Green Fog. Let me tell you about this project because it is spectacular. It is a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, using already existing footage from movies and TV shows shot in and around the Bay Area. So it pays homage to the city where Vertigo is set, not our city, but we love San Francisco too, and lovingly surveys cinema both highbrow and low, incorporating everything from classic Hollywood movies to TV series from the 1970s. I mean, at one point, a brooding Chuck Norris assumes the Jimmy Stewart role. Meanwhile, these guys have cut out a lot of the dialogue, so what remains are the in-between moments, that is, the emotions of Hitchcock's spellbinding story. And they've tapped the Kronos Quartet for a vigorous avant-garde score. If you haven't already, when you get a chance to see The Green Fog, do yourself a favor and revisit Vertigo first. Part of the fun is figuring out how this reimagination echoes the geography and the heartbeat of Hitchcock's film. As cineasts, we owe a debt of gratitude to Guy Madden for igniting our imaginations with such films as The Saddest Music in the World, My Winnipeg, and with his collaborators Evan and Galen, The Forbidden Room, and now The Green Fog. Please join me in congratulating this intimidatingly erudite and wickedly funny trio as the recipients of LAFCA's 2018 Experimental Film Award.
Thank you. Wait, what, 3?
Yes.
One for you.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Guy, that's Evan, Galen. Thank you so much. When we heard that we won this, I couldn't believe the company we're in. It's unbelievable. I looked up this specific award and found out previous winners on German Wikipedia. They're listed, unbelievable legends, which I won't list now. I want to say I'm well aware that we're early acceptance speech givers tonight, and we're sort of setting the bar for the rest of the evening. And I'm determined to keep it pretty low so that you can all enjoy your dinner without worrying too much about what you have to say. But we are thrilled. I want to thank Noah Cowan, the director of the San Francisco Film Festival, who commissioned the film. Nice to see such love for San Francisco in the room. A city neither of these fellows, the editors of the picture, had ever been to, and they had never been to this city until today either, so we're really diving headfirst into Hollywood. I want to thank Amy Nicholson, the treasurer of LAFCA. She's actually showing a lot of film critic love by putting us up on her couch. 3 experimental filmmakers from Winnipeg, Canada need a couch now and then, so it's pretty lovely, and just all of you. I want to say one thing about this film that has stayed with me, and maybe you can appreciate it. Many of you are filmmakers, others are actors working in the business. Watching these guys edit, you start fetishing movies. They were taking cuts from old TV episodes, old movies dating back from before Erich von Stroheim's Greed, which is set in San Francisco, shot in San Francisco, pre-1906 earthquake, right up through the golden age of television, streets of San Francisco. So our movie gets to star some of the great, it's got one of the greatest casts of all time. And then a lot of people that time has kind of forgotten as well. And because we had to adapt Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. And I might as well thank Alfred Hitchcock while I'm at it. I almost apologize to him because we had the it's the sight and sound, once a decade, greatest film of all time, pole topper. But we kind of had an advantage in that we saw his film and we could see where his weaknesses were, and we could correct them, tighten things up. Our movie's 63 minutes. It's his movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes or something. 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. So I feel bad, but we had the advantage. We came after. We got a chance to fetishize. Just watching over and over again footage of just someone moving from point A to B in a forgotten stretch of a film, a little nook or cranny. And you got to fetishize the auras set off by a cathode ray or particular Brownian hum of film grain or scratches of an old film, or the way the colors faded on something set in Alcatraz. And I couldn't help but think today, coming in on the plane from Winnipeg, that I'd be in a room full of people making the best movies of 2018. And flash forward, and I just hope like hell I can live another 50 years. I'm not going to, but I wish I could, so I could look back on 2018.
We'll do it for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, come on. And just look back at the way the pixels look so of the year, of the zeitgeist of 2018, of our times, and the acting styles and the script writing styles and the subjects, and the way that film has the power to make people feel not just history living and breathing in its moment, but also the textures of how it was ingested without anyone even realizing it. And maybe a lot of people will just think it's a lot of corny crap. I don't know. But I've really fallen in love with the corny crap that represented San Francisco over the years. And I just know I'd fall in love again, all over again, with all of you in here. So thank you. I know you'll be scratching your heads over that one. Good night.
Hi, I am Stephen Farber, and I'm presenting the award for Best Cinematography. Explaining his preference for black and white over color cinematography, Federico Fellini once said, "If I shoot a scene of a stormy sea in black and white, the audience can project onto it their own experience of the ocean. If I shoot it in color, it's too literal and less emotional and effective." Obviously, that comment is relevant to the climactic scene from Aroma, when the housekeeper Cleo rescues two of her charges from the sea. The art of film once meant nothing but black and white cinematography. Think, of course, of the classics that impressed all of us, starting with the silent era and going on to movies like Citizen Kane, The Grapes of Wrath, Sunset Boulevard, Seven Samurai, and 8.5 of Fellini, just to name a few. But in the 1960s, the television networks and TV manufacturers were converting to color, and they pressured the studios to force all their filmmakers to work exclusively in color. A few resisted that mandate: Peter Bogdanovich, Steven Spielberg, Alexander Payne, Pavel Polakowski, who made Ida and Cold War. The winner of our cinematography award tonight, Alfonso Cuarón, has made strikingly beautiful films in color, working frequently with cinematographer Emmanuel Lubezki. But for Roma, his film looking back to his childhood in Mexico City in the early 70s, Cuarón decided to return to the cinematic palette of an earlier era and this time he acted as his own cinematographer and composed glorious images that bring the past to life. Some of the scenes in the film, the climactic ocean rescue, a fire outside a country estate, have an epic grandeur and primal terror, somehow more intense because of the black and white imagery. And more intimate scenes in the family home or in the hospital have an equally vivid impact. Cuarón recreates a vanished time and place with extraordinary power, and that's why LAFCA is pleased to present the award for Best Cinematography to Cuarón for Roma.
Thank you very much. Following Fellini's example, next time that I do a film in color and I portray the sea, it's going to be sheets of plastic floating and moving around. Well, thank you so much, Los Angeles Film Critics Association. Speaking of black and white, I want to thank David Lindy from Participant Media, because when I talk about this film, well, first I said that nobody was going to read the screenplay and so on, and he was agreeing in everything, and then I threw the bomb, it's going to be in black and white. He just looked at me and says, fine. And so thank you, David, because your support was fundamental for this. I want to thank also Netflix for not flinching when didn't see the filter of black and white to be able to bring the film to the world. And of course, I have to thank Chivo Lubezki, who his ghost was gravitating around me at every single second. It is well known that Billy Wilder, in front of his typewriter, had a big sign that says, "What would Lubitsch do?" So pretty much I had one next to the camera that was, "What would Chivo do?" I want to thank the amazing crew, the camera crew. Galo Olivares was the camera operator, and it was a great security blanket to have a young cinematographer being the camera operator. So he has an amazing eye. I want to thank Technicolor, MPC, Ari, and Steve Scott, that is one of those strong heroes of cinematography. What is called now finishing artist, that is the artist that takes over the color correction, also is called, is a fundamental part of cinematography, and I don't think they are recognized enough. Eugenio Caballero, the production designer, a cinematographer is nothing without the amazing, having an amazing production designer. Ana Terrazas, having the costumes that our characters are going to help give life to these characters, but most important, the actors, Yalitza Aparicio and Marina Tavira. Yeah. Shooting in black and white is a reminder that we're at a moment where change is possible and where there's room for diversity in the ways in which we do film, but as well as the characters we portray and the stories we tell. I'm very proud to be among the films this year that embrace this possibility. So this film wouldn't be possible and everything that is seen through this camera if it was not because the place that forged me, and that's Mexico. So I have to thank Mexico as well. Thank you very much.
Hello. I'm Lindsay Barr. I'm from the Associated Press, and I'm just so pleased to be presenting the award for screenplay to Nicole Holofcener and Jeff Whitty for Can You Ever Forgive Me? I just love this movie. It's smart without being pretentious and witty without ever being condescending to its characters or its audience. And I mean, you know, we must all love this movie because it's basically a writer's worst nightmare scenario. And what they've done with Lee Israel is kind of a marvel because professionally, she's basically a ghost. Her agent only takes her calls when she thinks it's Nora Ephron, and her writing only sells when she's doing it as Dorothy Parker or Noel Coward. She was basically destined to become a footnote in the lives of more successful people. But what you guys have done is you've given her her person back while also still showing us how bleak her situation was. And, you know, Lee Israel's amazing, and she is one just totally unforgettable, awful, wonderful, brilliant character, and definitely no longer a footnote. So, congratulations.
Hi. Okay, well, wow. Thank you to the Los Angeles film critics for this movie and for supporting me in my work for so many years. I'm very grateful to those of you who've liked my stuff. I want to thank Marielle Heller. She made a beautiful movie. And Jeff Whitty as well. And am I feeling like I'm too loud? No? Okay. David Yarnell is a producer who gave actually the idea to Lee to write this book. He said, look, you know, you got nothing going, why don't you write about what you did? And he helped her financially, and I think this wouldn't have happened without David Yarnell, so I'm very grateful to him. I wish he was here. Ann Carey nurtured this movie. In all of its incarnations, and you know, as well as Amy Nayokis. I have a hard time saying her name, but I'm grateful to her as well. And Matthew Greenfield in Searchlight, Nancy Utley, David Greenbaum. This isn't a very interesting speech, but the other guy did it good, so. I want to thank Angela Johnson, Barry Dale Johnson, and especially Melissa McCarthy and Richard E. Grant, who and this really belongs to Lee. We did make her a little nicer in the movie. She was nice to me, but it was very brief, and I wish she was alive to enjoy all of this. But I give this to Lee. She was a pretty amazing person and a really fun person to live with in my mind for a long time. And I hope she's having a scotch and enjoying all of this. And I am too. Thank you so much.
My name is Todd Gilchrist, and I'm so pleased and honored to present the award for Best Production Design to Hannah Beachler for Black Panther, especially because LAFCA has rightfully, if unofficially, been recognizing her work for several years. It was her work that brought Oakland and Philadelphia vividly to life on screen in Fruitvale Station and Creed for Ryan Coogler, and Liberty City and later Atlanta and Moonlight for Barry Jenkins. For Black Panther, she quite literally changed the landscape of superhero movies, combining Afrofuturism, real and imagined history, comic book mythology, and pure imagination into dazzling spectacle. Her work not only made history, it created one for Wakanda and for characters who on screen and in real life seldom get to experience and explore their ancestry, culture, and legacy through the storytelling that is communicated through every inch of every frame of Ryan Coogler's movie. Now, so I can get back to finding out from her the plot of Black Panther 2, please join me in a round of applause for the 2018 recipient of the Los Angeles Film Critic Association's Best Production Design Award, Hannah Beekler.
I'd like to thank the draper for taking the swatches of my dress seriously. Always a production designer. And I thought your speech was interesting, so, because this is probably not going to be either. But I'd like to thank the Los Angeles Film Critics Association for this honor. Thank you very much. I want to thank all the PDs that were nominated in this. So many worlds that were created this year, and just taking me everywhere. I'm like running around table to table, going crazy for everything. So, all the production designers out there doing this every day and really like putting their whole hearts into it. Congratulations. I actually wrote stuff down, so I'm like, oh, what do I do? I'd like to thank Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler, for, our awkward Skype meeting 7 years ago now, for Fruitvale Station, and then just taking me on this crazy journey for the last 7 years of like, hey, we're gonna do a movie about, sports and Rocky, and okay. And, and then just, breaking my heart with it and making it so beautiful and making it mean something and making a city that might have been forgotten in the context of that person and making it its own character and just always being human, making me better as a human being and making me hopeful every day that the world isn't, what I see on my phone every day. So my friend, my family, my brother, I'd like to thank Ryan. And Marvel Studios, who had no idea what was coming when I walked in the door the first day. Nobody does, ever. But it's real. And, for every day, their unconditional support, Victoria Alonso, like one of the busiest women in the world that would pick up the phone whenever, right? Someone who is the complete example of women supporting women, who would pick up the phone when I called, like not sure what was happening, and like this is big, right? I'm doing this, and just keep going. And Kevin Feige, who was just excited about everything, and Lou D'Esposito, and I want to say something about Marvel and Black Panther, and that is that. It's been set up here already that sometimes when you've had the podium forever, it's hard to step aside and let other people speak. And Marvel did that. They allowed Ryan to speak, they allowed me to speak, and every single crew member on Black Panther to bring what our experiences were to this world without telling us that maybe we weren't really thinking about it right or thinking about what the bottom line was at that. I mean, they did, but not in that way. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, let's be real about that. But it wasn't, the decisions we were making creatively weren't about that. We created a world and a family, and they were right there with us every step of the way. And, when we really needed to, go to Africa, it was kind of a vacation too, but when we really needed to do the research, they said, yeah, absolutely. So they supported us in every way, and they stepped aside and let our voices sing. So thank you so much. My amazing art department, who, again, did not see me coming and stood by me and led with their hearts every day. You go through all the same things you go through with your brothers and sisters and your mom and dad, and it's ups and downs and back and forth. And, every single one of them was passionate about this when they came in and ready to go, and they just worked so hard. And every step of the way, we all faced forward. We all faced the same direction, and they were there to protect the vision, Ryan's vision, and it was pretty amazing. And most of all, I want to thank my beautiful son, Dominic, who's here with me tonight. As a single mom doing this work, I had to be away from my son for some time to pursue this. And, I don't know if he made it up or where he read it from or something, but one day I was like, I think I feel like I just jumped off a cliff. And he said, you know what, Mom? You're going to build your wings on the way down. So... thank you, Dominic. I love you. And I want to thank DDA. 6 years ago when I sent I'm going to send them an email. I need representation. What's up? And they took the time and came to New Orleans and said, I think you have some potential here. Let's do this. And just held my hand and helped me all the way through. So Bill, David, Juan, Juanita, I love you guys. Thank you. Danica too. Everything I do is for my friend Carol, and may she rest in power. Thank you.
My name is Myron Meisel. Thank you. This Critics Association began in 1975, 44 years ago, near the conclusion of principal photography of The Other Side of the Wind. Since then, we have honored Orson Welles 3 times, first with our Career Achievement Award in 1977, then 25 years ago this week for Best Documentary, It's All True, based on an unfinished film by Orson Welles. And whether by sentimentality or superstition, I am wearing the same suit I wore that day. And now for his most impossible dream summoned miraculously back to life like Lazarus. Along with him, we recognize his legions of collaborators as much spirit mediums or epic heroes as filmmakers, who fought this battle of generations, fought many times longer than the Trojan War. I'd like to take a moment, though, to recognize just one whose life work embodied many of the admirable values that reanimated this project from oblivion, and that is the cinematographer Gary Graver, whose fealty, loyalty, and devotion are emblematic of the commitment everyone brought to endeavor to realize the Wellesian vision and ambition. Gary lived and breathed to see this day, though he would not. I am sure he would be proud of all his comrades, as we are of him and of them. I'm particularly tickled to imagine how aptly The Other Side of the Wind bookends the spirit of communal endeavor that dates back to The Cradle Will Rock, the selfless collective in service to a higher purpose. The ultimate Wellesian happy ending may be that for once his saga has not ended in inevitable betrayal, but in weary victory for conveying such a plausible simulacrum of the film that might have been. Please join me in congratulating the producers who are not here tonight, Frank Marshall, who had family business, Filip Jan Rysma, who was in Poland, and Peter Bogdanovich, the keeper of the flame, for carrying the moral burden now lifted. And here to accept is Bob Murawski, the Wrangler-in-Chief, the editor, for proving that while the impossible cannot be done, the near impossible, on rare occasions, just might. Bob, can you come up?
Well, it's such a privilege and honor to be here to accept this citation on behalf of Orson Welles, Philip Rimza, Frank Marshall, and Peter Bogdanovich, who produced the movie. Peter couldn't be here, but he wanted me to read a little message from him. This is from Peter. I'm really very sorry that I'm not able to be there tonight, but you know the old show business saying, break a leg, and I did. So I'm on the mend and really regret missing your giving Orson this wonderful award and recognizing his genius yet again so many years after he passed away. Orson had the most wonderful sense of humor, so he probably is very amused that his remark to me, "Oh, how they'll love me when I'm dead," came true. I want to point out that without Frank Marshall, Philip Jan Rimza as producers, and our editor Bob Murawski, and most importantly Netflix, this evening wouldn't have been possible. Personally, I'm very happy about the reception of Orson's last film to be seen. Having been featured on over 36 best films of 2018 lists is amazing and unprecedented for a film made over 40 years ago. Well, it's one of a kind, just like Orson. Thank you and good night, says Peter. So I also wanted to mention a few other people who were pretty instrumental in the movie. Oya Kodar, who was Orson's creative partner. She was the co-writer of the movie, co-starred in the movie, and was with Orson every step along the way. And as Myron mentioned, my friend Gary Graver, who my wife and I had the privilege of knowing and who I found out about the movie from. We were neighbors. We both lived down the street from each other in Studio City. And I was a big fan of Gary's work as a cinematographer, mostly from his old drive-in exploitation movies with titles like Horror of the Blood Monsters and Satan Sadists. And then I found out there was this other side to Gary that he had worked with Orson Welles for 15 years and shot everything Orson did between 1970 and 1985 and was the cinematographer of Other Side of the Wind. And Gary had the work printed in his garage, and we always talked about getting together and when we were between jobs and trying to get the movie finished. And unfortunately, Gary died in 2006, but last year when I found out that Netflix was finishing the movie, I got in touch with Frank Marshall and Philip Rimza and talked them into letting me edit the movie. So I'm really grateful that those guys gave me the opportunity. I also wanted to, again, thank Netflix, Ian Brick. They were such great collaborators and partners in this movie. They did what no other studio in the last almost 50 years would do. They actually stepped up and provided the money to finish Orson Welles' project. He fought tirelessly throughout his entire life trying to talk every studio and anybody he knew into finishing the movie, and no one was interested. And then Gary Graver and Frank Marshall and Philip and Oya Kodar, not Philip, but Frank Marshall and Peter Bogdanovich and Oya Kodar kind of carried the torch after Orson died. And then Philip got involved about 10 years ago and really worked to clear up the rights, but it finally took Netflix to step up and not only pay for the movie, but to be a great partner in making the movie by not interfering at all with the creative process. They literally had no editing notes. We showed them the movie, and their only reaction was, yeah, just go ahead and finish it. We trust you guys to do whatever you need to do, and it's so rare for anybody who's worked on any movie, especially studio movies, to deal with, to have that kind of opportunity to just have that kind of freedom. So I really hope if anybody gets a chance to work with Netflix, I would definitely recommend it because they've got a great thing going. And I'd also just like to thank a couple of people who worked on the movie. Our sound mixers, Scott Milan and the late Greg Rudoloff, who just passed away last week. They really did an amazing job bringing the soundtrack together because even though we had all the negative for the movie, most of the sound was lost. So we were literally piecing the sound together from old 3/4-inch tapes and scratched up old work track that Orson was using for editing. So those guys really did an incredible job making it work. And our composer, Michel Legrand, who was almost 90 years old, but who Orson had actually hired back in the early 70s to score the movie, and Michel was still alive and viable and gave us 2 hours of incredible crazy, really emotional and beautiful music. And of course, I just want to thank Orson Welles. I mean, he was a guy who, always joked that he started his career at the top and worked his way to the bottom. But in reality, I mean, he made so many incredible movies throughout his entire career. I mean, when you think of Lady from Shanghai, Touch of Evil, the movies that he did in Europe, Othello, The Trial, and then to come back and make Other Side of the Wind against all odds and shoot it basically like a student film with his own money. People thought he was retired and they thought he was just some TV personality doing wine commercials and appearing on The Tonight Show, but he would take that money and invest it in this movie. And so just the fact that there's this incredible new Orson Welles movie in the year 2019 is just a testament to his genius, and it's a movie that doesn't feel dated, even though it's 40-some years old. It feels timely in a lot of ways, and most importantly, it feels timeless. So I think we should just all give a round of applause to Orson Welles. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Walsh. Oh, thank you. Wow, thanks. Regina King has been working tirelessly for over 3 decades in Hollywood, from the small screen to the big. In television, we first met her on the sitcom 227. Yes, and she's a multiple Emmy Award winner for her work on American Crime. She's made her mark in film, from Boys in the Hood to Poetic Justice, Higher Learning, Friday, Jerry Maguire, Ray, and Enemy of the State. She's worked with directors such as John Singleton, F. Gary Gray, Tony Scott, Mike White, and Cameron Crowe. But in Barry Jenkins' If Beale Street Could Talk, King is simply a revelation. The film is a swooning and stunning expression of a love story tragically torn apart by the state. But this film's big beating heart needs a backbone too, which King gracefully provides as Tish's mother, Sharon. What she uncovers in Sharon's emotional journey is equal parts unyielding empathy and deep wells of strength. In only a few moments, expressions, and words, King rends the audience's heart wide open in a performance that is quietly devastating and utterly unforgettable. I would be remiss not to mention King's pledge while accepting her Golden Globe last weekend, committing to gender equality on set in her future productions. It's pledges like hers and her vocal support of this issue that can truly achieve change in this industry, and for that, we say thank you. Yeah, great. It is the profound honor of the Los Angeles Film Critics Association to award Best Supporting Actress to the incredible Regina King, who could not be here tonight, unfortunately. We do have a video, so roll it.
Thank you, Los Angeles Film Critics Association. I'm so sorry I can't be there. I am so honored. It feels so good coming from the hometown. I am born and bred in LA, and this means the world to me, that the folks in the city that has loved on me for so long is continuing to love on me. Again, I wish I could be there to celebrate and have one drink 3 times with you, but it doesn't make it any less of an honor. I am so proud to be part of a film that is bringing James Baldwin's story to light, helmed by Barry Jenkins, one of the most brilliant auteurs of our time. It was an honor to be directed by him, to trust him, to have him create a space for us to just shine. I love you, LA. Thank you again. Cheers.
Good evening. My only complaint so far tonight is that I'm not sitting closer to the green fog table, because I hate being far from the Madden crowd. I'm Justin Chang, and I'm honored to be presenting one of our 2 awards for Best Foreign Language Film to Burning. I have to say, yes, thank you. I have to say I am so proud to be part of a group that is honoring both director Hirokazu Koreeda and director Yi Chang-dong in this category this evening, 2 masters of world cinema whose movies have meant so much to me over the years. Director Yi's work is not as well known as it should be in this country, which is a shame because he is one of our finest and most perceptive filmmakers. Not just a great storyteller, he's an anatomist of the human psyche and also a fearless critic of materialism, cruelty, privilege, and toxic masculinity in so-called civilized society. Over the years, he's made an unbroken string of brilliant movies, including Peppermint Candy, Oasis, Secret Sunshine, Poetry, and now Burning. If the golden age is really over, Yi Chang-dong appears not to have gotten the memo. Burning, his magnificently brooding and unnerving adaptation of a short story by Haruki Murakami, is his first new movie in 8 years, and it sees him rising to a new level of mastery and mystery. It gives us a snapshot of contemporary South Korea that could not be more richly textured or specific in its details, and then it lets us feel the ground shifting beneath our feet like quicksand. We can never be sure at any moment exactly what kind of movie we are watching. A study of romantic obsession, a portrait of an aspiring fiction writer and his capacity for self-delusion, a parable for a divided Korea, or a thriller about a guy who might be a serial killer, or a serial arsonist, or just an enviable young man of privilege. What can we say concretely then of Burning? Well, it features 3 of the most emotionally and psychologically intricate performances of the year, given by Yoo Ah-in, Jeon Jong-se, and the brilliant Stephen Yeun, whom we rightly honor as Best Supporting Actor this evening. It also continues director Yi's profound investigation into some of the most troubling questions of our age. Is there a higher power? Can we ever, amid the misery and mundanity of our everyday lives, experience the possibility of transcendence? Toward the end of this wise and piercingly sad movie, Yoo Ah-in's character says, "To me, the world is a mystery." Burning is a masterpiece because it knows that the most compelling mysteries are the ones that can never be solved. Please join me in congratulating the winner of LAFCA's award for Best Foreign Language Film for Burning, director Yi Chang-dong.
Thank you so much for this great honor, and thank you, Los Angeles Film Critics, for this award. I am especially happy to be here with Stephen, so that we may celebrate each other. I never imagined such a scene as this. And I am more pleased to receive this award with Director Koreeda, my friend. It seems more meaningful for Asian films to win the Foreign Language Film Award here, side by side. And it can be said that Burning is a mystery thriller, but the expectation of the audience would have them leave the theater with a bigger question rather than answers. Many of people I met here asked me, what happens to the heroine, Hemi, and whether or not the cat actually exists. One wise old man whom I met in Palm Springs gave an amazing interpretation that Hemi probably turns into a cat. I heard so many interpretations of this film, but it deserved the Best Imagination Award. Anyway, you Los Angeles critics have recognized these strange and unfamiliar films as a meaningful cinematic attempt and challenge. I want you to know that I take your warm understanding and praise as a really great encouragement. Thank you so much, Hartley. And I wish you all the best in this new year. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Turan, and I'm delighted to be collaborating, thank you, with my LA Times colleague, Justin Chang, on presenting the Best Foreign Language Film, and I am delighted to be talking about Shoplifters, which for me is a film that, yes, please. It's wonderful to hear, that's a film that cannot get too much applause, so I'm very happy to hear that. For me, Shoplifters is a film that has to be seen to be believed, not because it depends on huge explosions or special effects, but because it doesn't. It's a meditation on what creates and defines a family. This film's ability to move audiences must be experienced firsthand to be appreciated and understood. Japan's Hirokazu Koreeda displays a delicacy of touch that almost defies belief. Stories that could wallow in cliches become meaningful and moving because of his restraint and his empathy. As the title indicates, the multi-generational group in Shoplifters are all, from the youngest girl to the oldest grandmother, hustlers and scam artists existing on society's fringe. Yet these people, without exception, yearn for human connection. They experience the complexity of that need, negotiating shifting relationships with each other and society at large. When I talk to friends about Shoplifters, I end up talking about what the film doesn't do as much as what it does. It doesn't oversimplify. It doesn't overemphasize obvious points. It doesn't hit viewers over the head. Instead, Koreeda displays a quiet, humanistic touch that scrupulously avoids sentimentality. To see Shoplifters is to enter a special state of grace, for which we are more grateful year after year. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Koreeda.
ありがとうございます。この賞をいただいたお礼を一言述べたくてですね、10時間飛行機に乗って、今朝この町に着きました。本当にありがとうございます。
Thank you so much. I spent 10 hours flying here, arriving this morning, in order to be able to give my appreciation to you directly for receiving this award.
5月にカンヌの映画祭で、賞をいただいたときに審査委員長のケイト・ブラッシェントさんがこの作品のことをインビジブル・ピープル、目に見えない人たちをこう目に見える形にしたという、そこをすごく評価していただきまして、とても嬉しかったんですね。こ この映画に限らずいつも映画を作る時には見えないもの、声にならない声をどういうふうに映画にするかということをいつも考えているので、とても嬉しかったです。
When I received the Palme d'Or at Cannes, the jury head, Kate Blanchett, noted that I was able to make the invisible people visible. And every time I make a film, I try to make invisible things visible and have the voices of people who aren't heard. So I was very happy to have that comment for my film.
映画にはある力があると思っています。それは例えば、日本と韓国とかアメリカとメキシコとか隣り合う国と国、人と人の間に大きな力が壁を作ろうとするときに壁を作りお互いがお互いを見えなくしようとするときにその壁を取り払って、お互いを見える形にしていく、そういう力が映画にはあると思っています。
I think films have a great power when we look at countries like Japan and Korea or the United States and Mexico that are side by side, and big powers in those countries want to create a wall to separate the countries. I think films and our efforts to make films can break down such walls and have further understanding be made available.
なのでこの賞を友人でもあり最も尊敬する監督である韓国のイ・チャンドンさんと同じ賞を受賞できたということが本当に嬉しいですし、これからもその力を映画の力を信じて映画を作り、また10時間でも20時間でもかけて飛行機に乗って、皆さんのもとに訪れたいと思います。今日はありがとうございました。
I am very happy that I was able to receive this award along with the director that I really respect and admire, Ling Cho-dung, and I will continue to make films with this encouragement in hand, and I'll come flying 10 hours, 20 hours to receive the award.
Hello, I'm Lael Lowenstein. Great editing, it has been said, should shape a story, define character arc, and propel a narrative forward. Unless the movie calls for a different mode altogether, it should also be invisible. In other words, so seamless that the film itself cannot even be considered without it. So it is with Minding the Gap, Bing Liu's sensational coming-of-age documentary set in America's Rust Belt. As assembled by Liu and Josh Altman, the film, as it's cut together, deals with familiar themes of the journey to adulthood, but presents them in an entirely new way. It's almost like it's inventing a new language. Reared amid the cramped and cluttered hallways of economically depressed Rockville, Illinois, protagonists Kier, Zach, and Bing were more likely to be greeted by a closed fist than a set of open arms. But despite their turbulent childhoods, or perhaps because of them, each boy found his way to the skate park. There, he was able to make his spirit soar, release the tension brought about by a difficult and traumatic childhood. Cutting between Kier, Zach, and Bing during their separate confession sequences, Liu and Altman build the momentum to a thundering climax. Poetically, for me anyway, it was the silences, the gestures, sort of the gaps, if you will, more than the words that speak so loudly. It's Bing's deep swallow as he processes his mom's account of his abusive stepdad. It's Kier, who's reduced to tears at his father's grave, regressing to boyhood, wiping his tears with his t-shirt. And it's Zach's look of utter exhaustion and overwhelm on that bench by the river. It just says everything. To me, Minding the Gap was a transformative movie experience. 1 minute, it's a punch in the gut. The next, it's cathartic, it's bracing, it's a glorious feeling of flow and the freedom of movement. It's a lot like adolescence, in a way. I'm so proud and so happy to present LAFCA's Award for Best Editing to Bing Liu and Josh Altman, who's not here, for Minding the Gap.
Thank you. It's such a great honor to be receiving this award right after my favorite film of the year, Shoplifters. Thank you. Do you guys prefer LA Film Critics Circle or LAFCA? Okay, LAFCA. Thanks, LAFCA. I'd like to thank my production partner, Kartumquin Films. For those that don't know it, maybe you do, I don't know. They've been around since the 60s, and their best-known film is Hoop Dreams in the 90s. In 2014, I had an idea for a documentary and a year's worth of footage, and the folks at Kartumquin were the first to believe in what I was trying to do, and they came on to co-produce the film with me. I'd like to thank my producer, Diane Kwan, who's here tonight. She saw a rough cut in 2016 and took a chance on me. We had a cup of coffee, and I quickly found out that she's gonna be my friend for the rest of my life. I'd like to thank my production partners and funders, ITVS and POV, when they came on in 2017 and got us across the finish line. I'd especially like to thank my co-editor, Josh Altman, who also came on in 2017. And after looking at my rough cut, he was the first person to say, I think this can get into Sundance. Josh worked tirelessly with me, and he even ended up letting me stay on his couch in his guest bedroom, and his kids eventually came to call me Uncle Bingy. I'd like to thank Hulu for making Minding the Gap available to an audience beyond my wildest dreams, and for giving me status on airlines. I'm going to enjoy these free checked bags for a long time. Finally, I'd like to thank the brave men and women who participated in the film, who've allowed me to tell their story year after year, always being honest and brave and vulnerable, even in their darkest moments. I hope that their stories can show us how the aisles of race, class, masculinity, and the everyday violence that people enact on each other doesn't exist as a dichotomy, but as a spectrum. I'm going to close out by saying one more thing. I read an amazing book last year. It's called All About Love by Bell Hooks. I'm going to paraphrase a chapter that really touched me. Bell writes that men in patriarchal societies are taught to maintain power by any means necessary, which includes lying and dishonesty. But when we create false narratives to maintain power, we shut ourselves out of the capacity to give and receive love. This is a devastating price to pay for power. To consciously give up the prerogative to maintain power is to be truly liberated and to be a better man. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Grierson, and thank you. It gives me enormous pleasure tonight to present our Best Supporting Actor award to Stephen Yeun. Movies teach us how to spot monsters. They're the creatures who have horns on their head or hockey masks on their face. But in real life, they're not so easy to recognize because they look like us. Sometimes they come bearing a smile. Even worse, they may not be monsters at all. It just depends on your perspective. Ben, the enigmatic playboy of Lee Chang-dong's Burning, doesn't enter the story until the half-hour mark. But once he does, he recalibrates this magnificent film's internal rhythms. Ben doesn't achieve this with a machete or an evil plan. All he needs is a non-committal grin and a slightly condescending air. Like so much of Burning, Ben is a bundle of mysteries, whether it's the origins of his wealth or his intentions with Hae-mi, the film's leading lady. Those mysteries float and linger within the character, and they're brought to remarkable life by Stephen Yeun. Yeun plays Ben like a disguise, inviting us to project our own feelings and assumptions onto him. Jong-soo, the film's ostensible hero, views Ben as a romantic rival. And there's something archetypal about Yeun's portrayal. For many insecure guys, Ben represents that cooler, more confident, more sophisticated man that we can't ever hope to compete with. But is that superiority, or is there something far more menacing going on behind his eyes? Yeun seduces us in this film, refusing to give up his character's secrets. Ben could be a psychopath, or just a guy who likes torching greenhouses. He may be someone who has never cried, or just the kind of person who says that to try to impress other people. He may be Burning's monster, or maybe he's his most misunderstood character. Ben's mysteries remain, but what I know for sure is that Stephen Yeun is an absolute killer in this extraordinary film. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating our Best Supporting Actor winner, Mr. Stephen Yeun.
You always think you're not going to be nervous, and then you just so are. Thank you. This is so cool. I first really want to thank Director Lee Chang-dong for the grace, the wisdom, the opportunity, the trust, and the direction that really kind of changed the way that I look at film and changed the way that I look at acting and even myself. The way that this whole film really came about for me has been nothing short of crazy and miraculous. I don't know if it's cool for me to tell this, but Director Lee told me that there was someone else cast in this role prior to me, and Murakami was supposed to sign off on this adaptation, but he dragged his feet. He never responded, and because he took a year, the other actor had to drop out. So thank you, Murakami, thank you. But it's a stark reality you have to face when you're tossing and turning from jet lag in a strange hotel in London, without really a job, nothing to know what's coming next, and then out of the blue, you get a phone call from director Bong Joon-ho saying one of your heroes wants to work with you. Can you come to Korea? And you say, this is so crazy, I have a ticket to go to Korea tomorrow. And you meet with your hero for 3 days, and now I'm here, which is even more strange. This year has been really incredible, really intense, and really eye-opening. The lessons that I've learned from this experience on this film has been that as much as you want to control this life or this universe, you can't. And the chaos that is every moment is something that you just have to jump into. And for me to think that my parents would immigrate to the States and then I would find myself going back in this capacity and working with Director Lee is bonkers. So I submit to the chaos of the universe. I really want to say thank you to also my wonderful co-stars, Yu Ain and Chun Jung-so, who are incredible human beings as well as incredible actors. Their support and their talents during this whole experience was really, really, really a good time. It was really fun. I also want to thank, Director Alex Hong, who shot a beautiful film. Hwang 선생님, Miss Hwang, who was definitely the loving touch and the beautiful matriarch of our film. I've gotten the opportunity to work with her twice. She is the head of the makeup and hair department, and she is the shit. Writer Oh Jung-mi, who helped co-write this film, she's also such an incredible person. I'd like to thank her. All the wonderful producers at Pine House, BNC Group, Mike and Peter, NHK, and finally, I'd like to thank my family. The lessons that I learned this year from this film and this experience has really helped me to understand and look to the rear view that so many people, so many moments, so many random things conspired to bring things to this particular moment, and I'm so grateful and so honored. Thank you, LAFCA, for this beautiful, wonderful honor. It's all a product of all of us and the togetherness that brings these wonderful, beautiful moments. And finally, I'd like to thank my awesome, beautiful wife, Joanna Pack. She did everything. So thank you. I love you. Thank you guys for this award. Happy New Year. Let's do it all together. I appreciate y'all.
Hello, I'm Mark Olson. I write about movies. We'll take it. If Beale Street Could Talk, the adaptation by Mr. Barry Jenkins of the novel by Mr. James Baldwin, is a movie about love, about passion, and the vivid expression of emotion. But it's also a film about anger, frustration, fear, and deep-rooted systemic injustice. The score by Mr. Nicholas Pertel masterfully merges these seemingly incompatible themes. The score captures the brassy, urbane bustle of mid-20th century jazz while also using strings to conjure something more fragile and delicate. Now, we here at LAFCA give this prize for music/score, partly because when you put a bunch of film critics in a room together, go figure, they like to argue and fuss. What about this? It's a whole thing. But it's also to recognize music composed for a film and pre-recorded music used in a film as well. There's a moment in If Beale Street Could Talk that perfectly captures both of those things and really highlights Pertel's gifts. Now, Tish and Fawny are the young lovers at the heart of the story, and as an old friend of Fawny comes over to eat and drink and to hang out and catch up, they're listening to Miles Davis's Blue and Green, and the friends' tales take on a darker cast, a deep sense of foreboding entering the room. And the music imperceptibly begins to warp and distend, transforming from something inviting to something ominous. Can you imagine the brief to take one of the most famous compositions in all of jazz music and just add a little something, change it up a little bit, knock it slightly off its course? No pressure. Now, throughout the film, Pertel's score swirls and envelops. It's never far from your mind, even when it isn't even there. And yet, even as the music traverses all the complex feelings and conflicts of the story, it always comes back to love. More than anything, the music in If Beale Street Could Talk feels like a warm embrace. And so for his work on the film, it's my honor to present the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Prize for Best Music/Score to Nicholas Pertel.
It's really humbling to be here in this room with you all. It's very moving, and it's an incredible honor. Thank you to LAFCA for this. Ever since I was a very, very young kid, I was obsessed with movies, and it was actually through movies that I came into music in a way. When I was 5 years old, I saw Chariots of Fire, and I was completely obsessed with the Vangelis score. We had this like old upright piano in our apartment on West End Avenue, and I was just trying to figure out how to play the theme, and I went up to my mom and I said, can I have piano lessons? So that actually, film music was the start of my entire musical journey. I feel very lucky to be able to work in a creative field, and I feel incredibly lucky to work in film music specifically. But I feel luckiest to work with someone like Barry Jenkins, because I can't do anything without a director, and I truly couldn't have done anything that I attempted even to do on this film without Barry. He's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. He's a brilliant, brilliant artist, but he's also a very profound human being. And, we would spend hours and hours together. That's kind of the way we work. We have this very, very close collaboration where we go into my studio for days on end, and we'll like order Shake Shack, and we'll just sort of like watch the movie together, and we'll experiment. And I really believe that, and Barry does too, that we don't really know what the sound of a movie is going to be when we start. Barry has certain instincts, so he said to me he was hearing brass and horns, and so started experimenting with that. But for both of us, it's about this journey that we go on together. We have no idea what's going to happen, and I think that's what's so exhilarating and fascinating about the process. So thank you to Barry Jenkins. Thank you to the genius James Baldwin. If Beale Street Could Talk is the first English language adaptation of a James Baldwin novel. And I'd like to thank Annapurna Pictures for supporting us. I'd like to thank Plan B, Jeremy Kleiner and Dee Dee Gardner, who in a lot of ways were the first people who took a chance on me in 2012, so I can't thank them enough for that. Our cast and crew, who's amazing, Regina King, who inspired us in her performances, and the whole cast, that was unbelievable. James Laxton, who's here, our unbelievable cinematographer. Thank you, James. I'm responding to your images for months and months at a time. And I'd like to thank Robert Messenger, Ray Costa, and above all, I'd like to thank my wife, Caitlin Sullivan, who, in addition to being my love and my greatest supporter, she's also the cellist who is the sound of If Beale Street Could Talk throughout the film. So thank you, Caitlin. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm April Wolf. And I have the honor of presenting this year's New Generations Award to a director I love so deeply, and to a director who will leave you crying in the theater, just weeping for 5 minutes straight until a stranger has to ask you if you are okay. And you're not. The recipient of this year's New Generations Award is Chloe Zhao. An artist who has depicted empathy with such a smoldering energy that she makes the simple act of caring for other beings seem urgent and dynamic. In her film, The Rider, this director taps into the anxieties and radiant joys of life on the reservation through the story of a rodeo star weighing the values of family and ambition. To make the film, she molded the raw talent of her star Brady Jandreau into one of the most poignant performances of the year, breathtaking. She brings an almost journalistic curiosity to her work, mining real human stories and patiently allowing them to reveal insight and clarity. But more than anything, The Rider is about connection and trust, and that's a reflection of this director's artistic methods as well. As Brady, the character, approaches the horses he breaks with an open heart, so too does this director approach her film. It's such an honor to bestow this year's New Generation Award to this director because we cannot wait to see the next film from Chloe Zhao. Unfortunately, Chloe's not here, but the thing is, she's got the best excuse. She's on a boat.
Hi, I'm Chloe. Thank you so much for this award. I wish I'm there, but I am actually on a film set right now. I want to thank Tom Bernard and Michael Barker and Sony Classics for working so hard to put this film out there. It was incredible to be able to show our cowboys back on the reservation in South Dakota this movie on the big screen. So thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone who worked really hard on this movie, and especially our cowboy Brady Jandrew for sharing his story, for allowing us to tell his story and to share it with the world. And thank every single of you who felt compassion for Brady's struggle and who liked our movie. So thank you.
Good evening. I'm Charles Solomon. Miyazaki-san wa subarashi anime no kantoku desu yo. Or you could say, Monsieur Miyazaki c'est un cinéaste tout à fait extraordinaire, or simply that Mr. Miyazaki is one of the great filmmakers of our era, and all would be appropriate because anywhere you go in the world, in any language you speak of him, animators, artists, filmmakers, live-action filmmakers, critics, scholars, fans, otaku, and just plain geeks will tell you the importance, the significance, and the beauty of his films. At a time when so many American animated features have characters who are simple or simple-minded, Miyazaki's are complex, layered, and individual. He handles the environments and the worlds he creates with equal care and specificity, pausing to show us how raindrops darken a stone at a character's feet, or how the flowers by a little girl's head blow in the wind. His films are not cartoons in the sense that most Americans think, but works of art that move to symphonic rhythms. And he is clearly the auteur of his films. Miyazaki writes the story, he designs the main characters, he storyboards the entire film, and he'll go through and correct the individual animation drawings. In the case of Princess Mononoke, he corrected half of all the drawings in the film. When I asked about his widespread influence, Miyazaki replied, "My own work has been influenced by so many different factors in films. All artists take their place in the continuing cycle of influencing and being influenced. In some ways, the history of art represents a great relay race, with each runner transforming the baton as he carries it. At some point, I'll be ready to hand the baton on to the next generation if they wish to receive it." I take great pride in presenting this award to Mr. Miyazaki, but to talk a little bit more about him, the gentleman who oversaw the English dub of Howl's Moving Castle and won 2 Oscars for Inside Out and Up, my friend Pete Docter.
Hayao Miyazaki is one of the great filmmakers of our time. And I don't mean just animated filmmakers, I mean filmmakers, period. His movies are beloved by people around the world so rapidly in his home country that several of his films broke box office records, outselling Titanic and Lord of the Rings. And when you consider that he is quite literally creating everything you see on the screen out of his pencil, you can understand why many of us have a sort of love-hate relationship with this guy. His films are full of fantastic creatures, huge machines, amazing worlds, but the thing that hooked me is Miyazaki's amazing powers of observation, which he then puts into his movies. In Totoro, the 2 girls move into this old house in the country, and they're so excited that they don't have time to take off their shoes, so they run around on their knees. And since they're an old house, Dad tries to open a window, but he struggles to open it. Now, this might seem all insignificant, but when you consider that animators start with a blank page, all of this is extra work. But these real-life observations really put us into the world that he is creating. You'd think with all his artistic and financial successes, Miyazaki would have like a fancy large office space with a fancy studio. But when we visited him during production, he was drawing away in an unremarkable gray building in a line of other animators. And I asked him, what's your secret to creating such great films? And he says, you have to suffer a lot. The really good ideas don't come out unless you start to see your blood on the page. So given my respect for this guy, you can imagine how excited I was to be asked to direct the US dub, the English-speak dub of Howl's Moving Castle. And everyone worked really hard to make sure it was as good as it could be, which was certainly helped by having great actors like Christian Bale, Gene Simmons, and Lauren Bacall, the great Lauren Bacall. And yet, I couldn't help be nervous when I learned that Miyazaki himself was going to be attending the US premiere in New York, and that he would be seated directly behind me. Never mind, our amazing cast would also be there. What would Miyazaki think? Did I screw it up? And don't worry, the translator said, from Ghibli, she said, don't worry, he never stays at these things. Once the lights go down, he and his producer, Suzuki, will sneak out to go smoke. They don't like watching the US dub versions. They don't like any of the dubs versions. It's like watching their kids speak with somebody else's voice. So I think, all right, I'm great. I'm off the hook. So 5 minutes in, I peek back, he's still there. 10 minutes, he's still there. 30 minutes, he's still there. I try to sneak a glance back at him, but it's just that enigmatic bearded stare. I couldn't tell what he thought. So finally, the lights go up, and he's still there. He had made it through the whole movie, and I'm sweating like crazy, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to ask him what he thinks. But before I can go over, he darts out. He's gone. I'm like, oh, geez, what did I screw it up? This is awful. Is he upset? Well, it turns out this was all explained by the fact he had a crush on Lauren Bacall. He rushed off to go meet her, and I suspect this was the whole reason he came to the premiere in the first place. By some counts, Miyazaki has retired 7 times, and sure enough, he is now hard at work on another film, which is why he can't be here tonight. So perhaps the Career Achievement Award is a bit premature. I think I speak for all of us when I say, I sure hope so. Congratulations, Hayao Miyazaki, on receiving the 2018 LA Film Critics Career Achievement Award, and here's to many more great films.
As Pete indicated, Miyazaki is at work on a new film, which he said is for his new grandson. This was after he retired in 2016. He's also 77 and really doesn't like to fly. So to accept the award, we have Dave Jested and Eric Beckman from G-Kids, his American distributors.
What's that?
I'll say a little word and introduce you.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so it'll just be very brief. It's fitting that we should be here. I was here a few years ago to accept the award for the other Studio Ghibli co-founder, Isao Takahata, for Tale of the Princess Kaguya. Just briefly, we wouldn't be in business as G-Kids without Hayao Miyazaki, so thank you.
Thanks. And I think I speak for Eric, also in saying that handling Studio Ghibli's films and the works of Miyazaki-san is really both a personal and professional highlight for both of us. So I really appreciate them entrusting that to us. I have a brief statement from Miyazaki-san to read out here, which he sent along. He says, "It is a great honor to receive the Career Achievement Award from the Los Angeles Film Critics Association. My heartfelt thanks to the members of LAFCA and everyone who has recognized our films. I have put retirement on hold to make a new feature film. When, or if, I complete the film, I would like the American audience to watch it as well. Thank you very much. Hayao Miyazaki." Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Nicholson, and I'm here to say a few words about our Best Actress winner, Olivia Colman. So I'm probably not the only person out here who first fell for Olivia on the Channel 4 sitcom Peep Show, when she played the fulcrum of a love triangle between two very screwed up men. And tonight we are here to honor her for The Favorite, when she plays the fulcrum of a love triangle between two very screwed up women. And the thing about Olivia is her suitors are unhinged, but they are correct about one thing, which is that Olivia is amazing. And to them and to all the other people vying for her attention, I need to say, make room. Because this year, everybody is in love with Olivia, and I'm so glad that we here at LAFCA, we can all be part of her adoring throng. And that throng also includes the people who are making this new season of The Crown, because they stole her away from us. She's becoming Queen Elizabeth right now. But maybe she can hear our applause from here. So congratulations to our Best Actress winner, Olivia Colman.
Whoa, I've got 3 panels here. It's because I'm here for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. My name is Mike Strigo. I write for Film Comment. Thank you. After 6 live-action features, the veteran Spider-Man producers Avi Arad and Amy Pascal, who is with us tonight, decided to make an animated feature starring 6 different Spider people. It took the crack team of Miller and Lord, who are also with us tonight, and three fabulously talented directors to pull it off: Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. To quote from scripture, "Are they strong? Listen, bud, they've got radioactive blood." They make postmodernism fun again. They hurl us into a spectacular multiverse where men, women, children, and even a very porky pig can take on spider powers. They also tell the emotional story of Miles Morales, an African-American Latino teenager growing up absurd in Brooklyn. He'd rather be a street artist than Spider-Man, until he finds a way of being both. With the award to Spider-Man and to Black Panther, this marks the first night we're honoring Marvel comic book films. It's apt that tonight we're also honoring Orson Welles' last feature, The Other Side of the Wind. The great satirist Jules Feiffer, he once wrote that when he and his pals were drawing comic books in the 1940s, they took Citizen Kane as their Bible. Rumors spread, Feiffer wrote, that Orson Welles himself had read and learned from comic books. What a thrilling business we're in. Future graphic novelists and live-action filmmakers should study this Spider-Man film the way Feiffer and friends did Citizen Kane. It will teach them how to capture divided feelings and different layers of reality at the same time. And these directors do it while spinning webs and a wonderful yarn. Of course, it was Stan Lee, the late great Stan Lee, and Steve Ditko, who created the original Spider-Man in 1962. Just over a year and a half ago, a year and a half before his death, I asked Stan to talk to the Criterion Channel about his friendship with Alain Resnais, the legendary avant-garde French filmmaker. They were very close friends. Stan told us Resnais always wanted to do a Spider-Man movie. If Resnais had done Spider-Man, Stan said, it would not have been a normal superhero story. Alain was an innovator, and he didn't want to follow what everybody else had done. What Stan said about Alain Resnais is true of Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. Stan Lee and Alain Resnais would have loved your movie. Please come up and accept this token of how much we love it too.
How you doing? I'm Rodney. It's Peter and Bob. What's up? Well, first we just want to thank you. We don't know how we did it, but we somehow made a word-of-mouth Spider-Man movie. We literally don't know how that happened, but you guys, acknowledging us when you did, really made a big difference for us, and kind of, I think, let a lot of people know. I think it just signaled that people maybe could, pay closer attention to our movie than they might have, and it had a big impact, and we really thank you. I actually got an email this morning from a friend of mine who saw the movie yesterday, and he was asking, he said when he watched the movie, he was distracted a lot of the time by how it even had gotten made. And and the answer to that is Amy Pascal. That is the answer to that. For real. Amy is an incredible champion of filmmakers. I've had more than one experience with her where she championed an idea of mine that shouldn't have been championed or should have been championed, but no one would. She started this. This was her idea. And we're all here because of her. Avi Arad also started it for us, and these people, I just want to make clear, we get to stand here, but this does not reflect how this movie was made. This movie was made by a lot of people. A lot of people were important to this movie, and Avi is one of these people. Christina Steinberg, another one of our producers, amazing creative producer. By the way, and Amy, I wanted to mention, was right. We argued against so many of her ideas, and she was right about all of them. They're all in the movie now. So we want to thank them. Phil and Chris, I just wanted to say, and no one's recording this, right? We are so happy you were available for our movie. For real, our movie is so much better because of that. It just would have been so much worse. They were hyper involved, and things happen for a reason or something. I don't even know about that stuff, but this movie is what it is because of them and because they were around for as much as they could have been. So we're very grateful for that.
Take your little thing, man, because I don't want to scratch it.
You got it, man.
Hi. Each one of us is going to actually speak because this is probably one of the few moments where you guys don't have music ready to play. So I'm going to talk about sort of us three directors, which I know seems absurd, but it had to be. This would not have happened without a team of directors, but also we're up here representing a bigger team, a team of sort of 800 filmmakers and artists from all over the globe, and they all came together, to tell a story about characters that we all cared deeply about getting right. We wanted to make sure that the story about Miles and his family and everyone else was done authentically, and it sounds weird because we're talking about an animated film and a cartoon or whatever, and a Spider-Man movie, but that was really what we were really chasing, and everyone that worked on it was chasing it as well, and we knew to tell it. You've seen enough Spider-Man movies that we had to do it in a way that was kind of expanding the medium, and animation is that medium, and we really wanted to expand the boundaries of what an animated movie could do, and what just a movie could look like. To all of us, animation is film, very simple statement, a medium, not a genre, and we wanted to show that to the world. And we happened to get, 800 artists who wanted to show the same thing. And they worked and they gave everything that they had to find new techniques, to write new software, and to try to tell a story in a new way. And if you've seen the film, I think it kind of worked. And I think we all think that they really succeeded And we've all succeeded because they succeeded, and we think it's a beautiful success. So I just want to thank all of those people. Most of them are in Canada right now. Some are in Spain, some are in other parts of Europe, but we want to thank them. And I'm not sure you said this, Rodney, but we also want to say thank the LAFCA, because did you say that up front? Did you? I didn't hear it. I must have been in my own head. I'm sorry. So we're repeating things already. But I'm going to give this over to Peter now. So thank you.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to thank these two geniuses, my director brothers, because they're both great artists in every sense, and we couldn't have done it without each other. I just want to pick up on what Bob was saying about, the technical innovation and the new things that we tried to bring to the film as a film. None of it would have mattered at all if we didn't have the story of Miles Morales. Miles Morales, for those of you who don't know, he is an African-American Puerto Rican Spider-Man. He's got working class parents in Brooklyn, speaks Spanish at home with his mom. It is kind of a new thing for a superhero, but all of us know there are millions of Miles Moraleses all over the world, all in every street of our country. So, in the last few months, I think all of us have had the experience of running into people, whether it's emails or tweets, or people after screenings coming up to us, people of color going, "Hey, I was, watched your movie. I was there with my son, and I looked over at him, and he pointed at the screen and said, 'That's me up there. I'm that kid.'" It's a feeling that I can personally relate to. I mean, in our digital reviews, I'd have moments where I'd kind of seize up and feel the same thing, and it's just a reminder of what we wanted to do with this movie, how we wanted to make something that empowered people, gave a voice. We hear that all the time, but sometimes it sounds like words. When you run into people who actually have this experience in their lives, you realize how real it is. So those 800 people, that's why they worked so hard to create this story. And I just go back to something that Phil wrote in his very first treatment. It was kind of a mission statement tacked onto the end. And the words were, we want our audience to feel powerful and seen. We want you to know that you're powerful and we're counting on you. And it just moved all of us, and I think it was our guiding light through the whole production. So I'll just leave you with that, because now more than ever, we need people who are heroes, who are going to step up, do the right thing for this crazy world of ours. So you're powerful. We're counting on you. Thank you.
Hey, you guys, how's it going? I'm Christy Lemire. Hello. From RogerEbert.com and the all-new Breakfast All Day podcast. We're a thing. Come find us. Where's Alonzo? We're a thing. You and me and Matt and Ben. I'm so happy to be here tonight to present the Best Documentary Award to Sandy Tan for Shirkers. As you can see or hear, Sandy knows a lot of folks in this room. Sandy has many, many friends in this room. But then we all saw Shirkers, and we became something else. We became her fans. Because what she has done with this film is so tricky, and it is so impressive, and it is so unlike anything else that we saw this year or possibly ever. And I don't want to call it a documentary. It's not, I don't want to put it in that box, because it's so much more than that. I don't want to compartmentalize it. It is a coming-of-age drama. It is a mystery. It is a thriller. And it is so tonally precise in every bit of it that it was the best thing we saw. I mean, far and away. And it's so specific to Sandy's experience and yet so universal and, going back and trying to figure out who you were with some cringeworthy moments. Sandy deserves some extra credit, too, for daring to share with the world this archival footage of her teenage years, which she thinks are her awkward years, but clearly she was the coolest chick ever. And she's still the coolest chick in this room. So I'm thrilled to bring her on up here. Sandy Tan, our LAFCA winner for Best Documentary. Come on up. Here we go. Enjoy.
I'm not that cool. I have to read from this because I might forget because I drink. Thanks, Christy. That was amazing. This room. I have to say, my teenage crush, Ethan Hawke, may or may not be here, and my teenage hero, Guy Madden. I mean, this is like the 90s all over again. It's kind of amazing. Dates me. Well, anyway, we're old now. I can own it. I'm gonna get rid of the thank yous first, so I don't forget and get in trouble. Thank you, LAFCA. I used to be one of you too. I used to be a film critic when I was a kid, a lousy one in a galaxy far away, where I used to go to like these, junket roundtables and ask Morgan Freeman really awkward, embarrassing, ridiculous questions because I could tell that we were both bored. So I don't miss that, but thanks for doing it, and thank you, Netflix. Really, thank you for picking up this little, crazy little personal detective / ghost story. And just like preventing me from killing myself at Sundance last year, almost a year ago now. And that means like so much to me because you've kind of brought it out to the world in this tiny little thing that would have just vanished. So I thank Lisa Nishimura, who is not here, and Jason Spingarn-Koff, who's here, and Kate Townsend, who's not here. And also like everyone else who at Netflix who helped to get this scene, Lisa Tabak and her amazing team, Christy Gross and Liv Moore, who are here, and my amazing squadron of publicists who got this out in the world, and I will name them: Nancy Willen, Christine Richardson, who's in New York, and Emily Spiegel in New York, and then the New York Ninja, Ryan Werner, that a lot of us know and love, who flew in today. He sent me a text. He said, the corpse has arrived. And he has. He's the best, man. Okay, so now I'm going to say the most cliche thing ever, and to say that this has been such a long journey. In my case, it's not metaphor. It's actually true. For those who haven't seen the film, this is about a film about me and my friends making a film called Shirkers, just to confuse you even further, that I made as a teenager with my friends in Singapore when nobody else was doing films. And I wrote the script and I played the lead, a teenage assassin named S. And only to have all the footage stolen away from us. When I got the boxes of the film back, like 20 years later, it felt like both a gift and a curse. I was a new person. I was in LA. I just had buried that thing, and then just this resurfacing of these boxes. I knew that opening up these boxes would take me down some kind of black hole, this vortex of, psychological damage and potential financial ruin, and I wasn't that far from the truth. But I knew I had to do something. I had to kind of figure out a way in which to explain me to me, I had to figure out how to tell this crazy-ass stranger than fiction detective story just so I could solve it for once and for all. So I built a time machine in my garage. And you can do that now in the 21st century, which is you can work remotely. Because I tried to make films in the 20th century, and 21st century is actually cooler, I think. It's easier, you can remotely, like I worked with a singer in Singapore, a composer in Israel, sound designer in downtown LA, a producer in New York. And I can tell you, can I tell you just how empowering that is? Like, you can do that now, and you can actually reclaim this lost narrative of your own life. And just, realize that you're not the sorcerer's apprentice anymore, but you're actually the sorcerer. That's kind of an amazing feeling. This is like the best job in the world, like making film. It's just like the greatest privilege. I think a lot of you probably know that. So wise filmmaker friend told me that completing my film would probably change me on a molecular level. And he likes to exaggerate. He's a great storyteller, but I think he's kind of right. Because I realized that the younger me I thought was gone forever is still part of me, and it's still with me. And making this film, I realized I was actually kind of singing a strange duet with my teenage self. And that's actually an amazing feeling. And so thanks for hearing the song that I'm singing, that I sang. And also the other thing that I have to say about Netflix, and that's the last thing I'll say, so I don't sound like a show, but that's really amazing, is that I am now reaching with my film, like the versions of me when I was a kid, like no access to, ArcLight cinemas and in Singapore and Criterion Blu-rays. And these kids are writing me every day with like in Spanish and different languages and with like crying face emojis and laughing face emojis and just like saying like, I want to make a film too. I want to go out there and do this and change the world and all this kind of stuff. And it's just so cool to be able to do that for strangers. I mean, like these amazing things. I mean, that's like a wonderful thing about the internet. So I hope to keep on making films in the 21st century. And all of you are. So, I mean, really embrace it. And thank you for this. This means everything.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Nordine. I'm the weekend editor at Anywhere. Thank you. And I'm here to present the award for Best Actor to Ethan Hawke. And as I was getting dressed, I realized that I was kind of dressed like his character, but I swear it's a coincidence. So, anyway, did you hear the one about the choir mistress and the minister? Neither had Reverend Ernst Toller, and though the punchline to that joke isn't especially notable, his reaction to who it is. This man of God, who's deeply troubled, isn't amused by the joke, but he smiles along nevertheless. As we see him do many times throughout Paul Schrader's First Reformed, he suppresses his true emotions. But he can't do it forever, because beneath his calm, even godly demeanor, is a crisis of faith that, while not pleasant to watch him endure, is so powerfully portrayed that you're compelled to follow along for every chapter. It's a performance that forces you to ask yourself what you would do if you knew, on a visceral level, if you could feel in your bones that there was something profoundly wrong with your body, your spirit, and the planet itself. Would you keep a journal? Would you pray? Would you drink a bottle of drain cleaner? Would you do all of the above? And it's a testament to the power of Ethan Hawke's performance that he makes one solution seem as reasonable as the next, even in an unreasonable world. I'm sorry, Sandy, but Ethan is not here tonight. He's on Broadway. So here to accept the award on his behalf is his brilliant writer-director, Paul Schrader.
Yeah, apologies, Sandy. Some of you may know Ethan. Ethan is not like the character, Reverend Toller, in this film. Ethan is really a kind of Austin hippie. He's a bit of a goofball. And, I'd known him, run into him around in New York. And as I was finishing up that script, I started thinking about him, because he was the right age and the right physiognomy. And I sensed that if he suppressed his innate compulsion to entertain, to be ingratiating, to be cool, there would be something left there that was even stronger than what he was trying to be. And I just had that sense about him. And so I sent him the script and we met. And I said, you know what a recessive performance is? And Ethan is very smart. He's a Renaissance man, a writer, an actor, director, author, playwright. And so when you discuss with him, you discuss with a fellow intellectual rather than with a attention-starved actress. And he said, yeah, I do. I said, well, this character, if you can ever sense the viewer growing interested in you, just lean back a little bit. See what happens. And if they're still interested, lean back a little bit more. And see how far you can lean back before their eyes glaze over. Because I think you can lean back a lot further than you think. And that became the kind of modus operandi of this performance. Anyway, Ethan, I believe, has taped something. Are we rolling, Bob?
Hello, this is Ethan Hawke, and I so badly wish I could be with you tonight. I so appreciate Los Angeles film critics getting behind this movie and supporting it. You have taught the world how to think about the movie, and I am so grateful for your support. We needed it, and we appreciate it. And thanks for all that you do for movies. I wish I could be there.
I did not trip. Hi, everybody. I'm Ella Taylor, and I'm here to... thank you. That's what they do when you get venerable. When I interviewed Deborah Granick almost a decade ago, I think it was, for her lovely second feature, Winter's Bone. She has a lot of bone films, but this is not one of them. She told me that she dreamed of making a tween girl movie about witches. And Leave No Trace is very far from that movie, but in its attentively realist way, this lovely movie is also a fairy tale about getting lost in a dark forest. Or more than one forest. There's the Oregon kind, and also the dark forest of a psyche so wounded that it can no longer tell the difference between love and damage. Ben Foster is marvelously taciturn as Will, an army vet and loving father who carries his teenage daughter, Tom, more on her in a minute, with him into isolation in the Oregon wilderness. And by the way, I thought that we had Ben Foster with us tonight for a full half hour until I realized it was my old friend R.J. Millard buried under a bushy beard. He looks just like him. Will has PTSD, but in the intensely observed specificity of Granick's directing and her screenplay with Anne Rossellini, who's also here tonight, clinical terms hardly ever come up. It's a story about several people, and there are no facile human villains here. In fact, there's a lot of people who want to help. There are only hopelessly bureaucratized institutions. Many people try to help, among them the wonderful Dale Dickey, who we have here tonight also. But only one of this family of two will be whole enough to rejoin the society of others. As the one that got away, Thomasin Harcourt Mackenzie is so good, with a minimalist sophistication rare in one so young, that I was wishing for her the same kind of future career breaks enjoyed by two other unknown actresses whose career Deborah Granick launched. You may not know this, but Vera Farmiga and Jennifer Lawrence both began their careers in films that Deborah Granick made. So, Thomasin is also here with us tonight, but I'm really pleased to present the award for Best Director to Deborah Granick.
Wow. I definitely have to read. So, yeah, the thank yous are, they hurt because there's so many of them, there's a lot of layers, but I'm going to be brief because I just need to pound them out. The big thank you that I have to LAFCA is for keeping the arena open for the existence of smaller films to be even known. You know, if journalists don't take the care that you guys do, no one would know. There's nary a billboard. There's no, it just needs to be the careful words that you guys use to pique interest, get people to even ask, could this be something that I might enjoy? Could I venture out? And that's kind of the crucial part of keeping the biodiversity in our film culture. And the other part of that, of course, would be, and I speak for small cohort of filmmakers, which is the social realist filmmakers. And again, without that, it's not explication, but it's the encouragement to see the films. I think people would be afraid of social realism. And so I'm glad things are going to change on that front. Again, I think film journalists will be at the helm of that, which is, I heard good words that foreign language is going to be turned into world cinema or international cinema, and that social realism is going to have a new term in the next couple years that will invite a lot more people to it. And I think that something else I needed to say is that I noticed tonight many people here spoke about encouragement. I think every filmmaker that stood up here tonight used that word. And so I'm leaving tonight thinking that LAFCA is an encouragement generator, that somehow what you are doing during the course of a year is something that people need to do this work. It is arduous work to get the films made, and so the encouragement that somehow was imparted tonight is going to go a long way, and that can't. I don't think there is enough thanks for that, that I can be verbal about. And so, small films traditionally have the longest list of thanks, and that's just a mathematic necessity to acknowledge all the people that contribute. I guess there was a film that was not a small budget film that had 800 people. That's a different kind of long list. And but of course, standing right in front of table 4 are people in the room that I need to thank. That film is so hugely collaborative. So without Thomason deciding to come over from New Zealand to participate, without Dale working year after year to delight us and change it up all the time, without my producing partner, Anne Rossellini, and co-writer, without the work of Bleecker and RJ, who and his team, these films cannot be seen, they cannot evolve, and so therefore it's the LAFCA plus your long list of thanks that makes an even longer list of thanks. And so I'm just going to end on the fact that there's no filmmaker in this room that isn't having like a real tight chest right now with the thanks to LAFCA. Thank you.
You forgot your plaque.
I think I forgot to say earlier, I'm Claudia Puig. Sorry about that. Tonight, we honor Roma as the best picture of the year. But the honor feels almost inadequate for a movie that we will surely see on Best of the Decade, if not the Century lists. This stunningly beautiful, lyrical, and emotionally stirring movie is at once timeless, timely, and timeless. After winning the Oscar for his direction of Gravity and being the first Mexican to win that honor, Alfonso Cuarón could have chosen any project he wanted. He chose to make a personal, intimate film about a period in his childhood set in Colonia Roma, the neighborhood where he grew up. It was a bold move, shot in a highly unorthodox way, with mostly non-actors and in sequence. Cuarón provided scripted lines the day of shooting to key characters, sometimes confounding them by giving them contradictory instructions to create an atmosphere of chaos, as in life. Mexico City is an ever-present character in the film. The sounds of the city are everywhere. Fruit vendors, car horns, planes flying, dogs barking, dogs doing other things. Mexico City's presence is always felt, even when the family is at the beach in Veracruz or at a hacienda in the country. Cuarón's magnum opus tackles classism, federal violence against students, parental abandonment, and what is not so discreet and not so charming about the bourgeoisie. Cuarón has called his film a spiritual X-ray of his family, an examination of its wounds and its sores. But also, he has said he was exploring wounds that he shared collectively with the whole country and maybe with humanity. He was seeking truth, as artists do. He made himself a peripheral character and told the story from the perspective of Cleo, a domestic worker and a stand-in for the real-life person of Libo Rodriguez, who was like a second mother to Cuarón. I've had discussions with people after the film as we try to guess which child was based on Cuarón. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. The children move us deeply, but what matters most is Cleo, played with stunning sensitivity by the wonderful Yalitza Aparicio. Our lives have been enriched by a trip to Roma. Congratulations to Alfonso Cuarón, Gabriela Rodriguez, and Nicolas Celis for your transcendent and soulful work of art. Viva Mexico and Viva Roma.
Okay, I was not expecting to speak, but thank you so much. Thank you, LACMA, for this honor. Thank you, Alfonso Cuarón, for your wonderful movie. Thank you for allowing us, Nico and I, to help you make it. Thank you, Nico, for coming on board as well with us. Thank you, Yalitza, for your amazing performance. You are not only a talented actress, you're an amazing human being. So thank you for being part of this with us. Thank you, David Lindy, for everything Alfonso already thanked you for before. Thank you, participant. Thank you, Netflix. Thank you, all of you tonight. Amazing speeches, amazing team of people, happy to work in this amazing industry, making cinema. I'm very lucky, and I think we are all very lucky to be creating this medium. Thank you, and good night.
Well, I'll just thank also, my amazing partners for inviting me to work in Roma, which for me meant the world. It's a very touching movie that even when I saw it the first time, I wrote to Alfonso and a very truth letter, because it really made me feel, that period of time that I had never lived. I was not alive at that moment. And sorry. But I really felt I was there. and it's amazing because we didn't read the script until we finished doing the movie. So seeing all the pieces together at the end, it really felt like the first time we saw the movie. And we keep watching this movie, and every time I see Yalitza getting to the most tough scenes, I really collapse. And for me, that's cinema, that you get into these theaters, you watch a movie, and you come out, and you come out transformed. And I want to thank Netflix and Participant Media to help us get Roma to the world. So thank you very much, everyone. Gabby, Alfonso, and all the team. Thank you.
Well, yes, of course, David Lindy, and Jonathan King and Participant Media, but also Scott Stuber, Julie Fontaine, and Ted Sarandos at Netflix, for bringing this kind of unlikely film into the mainstream awareness. Yalitza is just incredible, the gift that you gave to this film. You gave your intelligence, you gave your heart, and this amazing generosity that you have. Sorry, I have to read because I'm so bad. I'm going to stutter otherwise. I want to salute Los Angeles Film Critics Association. I salute you for embracing a black and white film in Spanish centered on a domestic worker. From the beginning of this journey back in August, you supported this film and helped it make it visible. I thank you from the bottom of my heart from that. And this is the relevance of this is that when you champion unfamiliar cinematic narratives, you're influenced through change in our industry, and in turn, you influence culture. Thanks for your help, we can break down walls and bring diverse voices in front and behind the cameras to mainstream audiences, and perhaps, just perhaps, changing perspectives. Finally, I want to thank Mexico for being the specific voice and point of view that helped shape Roma. Thank you very much.